Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good whatever time it is, wherever you are. I'm Brian Hare. This is the live FSE show. Happy Wednesday. That's what today is if you're watching live, or today, or happy whatever day it is whenever you're watching. Before we get started, a little bit of housekeeping. Big excitement. We have a contest going on right now at, is it just Minerva.com or Minerva Beauty?
Minerva Beauty.
MinervaBeauty.com. All you got to do, go to the website. The contest is right there. It's much easier than I'm making it sound. Click and enter, and you can win a ring light, which is an awesome expense to have around. It makes so-so work look fantastic, and so-so people look really hot. So go check them out. They are always looking after us. I mean, all of our stuff around here that you see and in the salon is beautiful, and it's because of them. So go check them out. Enter that contest. I believe it ends on the 10th, so there's only like a week left. So hurry up and do that. Oh, that is a week. Look at me. No,
There you
math.
go. Yeah.
So go check that out. Let's see. Today I am doing a fun class. I want to see lots and lots of chatting, because today I want to spend some time really us like getting to know each other, getting this back and forth. Matt's helping out, watching the chat, making sure that we see what's going on. I see what's going on. Hi, there's Matt. And so the normal thing for everyone who has a question, you're going to type Q so that we make sure that we see that there is a question that needs to be had. Everything else, you just chit-chat. We'll just see the rest. So we'll figure out a letter for that at a later date. Okay, is there anything else?
No, that's it.
I hit it all.
Ready to roll.
Housekeeping's done. All
now
right.
the fun begins.
Yeah, now it's real fun. Okay, so hello. I was thinking about what I wanted to do for this class, and this is something that I've seen for a while that I wanted to address, and luckily somebody had a question last week, so I just get to say, oh, well, this was for you. And this is the scenario, it's a very real life scenario of having a client in the salon who's getting their roots touched up, whether it's a gray coverage or they just get their roots done, whatever, it's your business. But they also need to refresh on the highlights. Now, something that I have seen that I wanted to address is they'll do the root retouch and then spend an hour putting highlights on, and then they'll process those highlights and then wash that all out, and then you've just got yourself just a big old mess. So what I wanted to do today was to show you in a scenario where you've got a root retouch. Most color lines that I've ever worked with have like a 35 to 45 minute processing time. So in that window, we need to be able to apply some highlights to the right places so that they're going to stand out, having very limited processing time. Because there's some people that I highlight that their highlights will process in 20 minutes. And I'm talking about hand painting today. Just that's what today's thing is. But then there's some people that when you normally hand paint their highlights, it's going to take like 30, 45 minutes for them to get that brightness that you normally would like them to be. So today's importance is going to be where to put just a few highlights to get the biggest impact. I think that makes sense. How we doing? We're getting a lot of good mornings. Hello, everyone.
A lot.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
That's so exciting. I love that. All the way from Long Island and Spain and Pakistan. That's nuts. Good morning. Hello. Cape Town, South Africa. I really want to go there. I want to see great white sharks jump out of the water, and apparently that's where you got to go. So,
Pretty sure there's other places, but
like that's the place.
that's the place.
Yeah, because I hear they don't jump out of the water everywhere, but like off the tip
Oh.
of South Africa is where they go nuts. From what I understand, Marilyn, if I'm wrong, correct me. Otherwise, I'm coming to crash on your couch so we can see great whites. Okay, so let's jump in. I foil in between routine. Yeah, see, that's cool. When I have the clients who do like a really, really heavily highlighted look, I will make that a separate visit, because I am going to take time to put those highlights in and let them process however long they need to. Today is really just touching up their highlights when they're getting their roots touched up. That's kind of my point, my thought process behind today. So I have this lovely mannequin that I worked way too hard on last week because I was like, well, let me just darken her darker than I normally go with my mannequins because I want to really show that pop of highlight, and then discovered how much fun it is trying to hand paint highlights over really dark, and it was just a whole thing. And just know that I love you and that this lasagna took a lot of work. This was a very fancy lasagna. Hi, Mom.
You always have to have a hi mom in there.
It's just nice that it's actually to her, not just into the universe.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, look how beautiful she is. We're gonna put the lasagna away for a minute and bring out noodles. So you see, just lots of dimension with the depth. She's still going strong. She's getting bright, but we're still, we're calling her noodles, I've decided, because we've got noodles and lasagna. So, a couple of things before we get started. Again, I'm talking off of a 35 to 45 minute processing time. So you've got your root color on. Now the clock starts ticking, because after that processing time is up, you really do need to wash the color off, because that's why the company has told you this is how long to process it for. If you go beyond that, things start getting unpredictable. You start over-processing the hair. Things just become less reliable, and that's why people come to us, because we know what we're doing and we know how it's going to turn out. So that's why I came up with this. So I'm going to just pull her in. When I do in this scenario, rather than a typical just 4-quadrant root application, I'll do it off of wherever their part is, because I'm going to be hand painting highlights. Again, she happens to be in the middle, so that's why I'm making sure that I say that. Wherever their part is how I will do that root retouch, so that I know exactly how the highlights are gonna lay once everything is all said and done. She's got her, what is it? Gen Z center part. I hope I let that go one day, because I really just can't let it go.
You really can't.
Well, it makes me mad.
Why?
Just let people do what they want to do with their hair. Stop telling people they have to part it in the middle, because kids today think it's cute. Not everyone looks good with that.
I didn't even know it was a thing.
Yeah.
I should pay attention.
On TikTok.
That's how you know you're getting older.
All the Gen Z, I'm older than you, Matt.
I know.
All the Gen Z kids are saying, they're making fun of the millennial generation and saying, you need to do center parts. You need to stop wearing skinny jeans. You need to let us just live.
I did hear the skinny jean thing. I'm a little nervous about that.
I was going to say,
I'm
you
very
heard it, but did you listen?
Yeah, I'm very committed to.
It's all right. I'm not giving up my drop crotch pants ever.
That's again why we're getting old.
Well, because when I do get old, I can fit a diaper in these. So, I'm good to go for life.
That's true. You got that.
Okay. All right. So, pretend. We're going to be visual. I was thinking about putting a root color on her so you didn't have to pretend, but realized I didn't want to, since I'm trying to make her last as long as possible for fun's sake. So just visualize a nice little root retouch. So we're going to pop back over to wherever you mix your color. We have a lovely color bar in our salon. I'm going with my real life stuff, what I actually use all the time. We got Paul Mitchell Skylights, clay base, up to 7 levels. Again, this is not a scenario where you're looking to, this isn't like a platinum card kind of scenario. This is a retouch, a refresh. So in real life, I'd be using 40. In pretend life, right now I'm using 10, just because I don't want to, because chances are I'm going to go from this right to my first client and forget to wash off noodles here. So I don't want to over-process her hair.
And then Brian, with that, with mixing that lightener, you do it to a certain consistency, correct?
I do.
You're not measuring.
No, I know that's not how they would want it done, but
no, I think
well.
I think with lightener, a lot of companies do say. I mean, they have a recommended amount.
Yeah.
But I definitely think, especially with balayage lightener, you need to mix it to your consistency that you like. I think,
agreed.
Personally.
And also, but you need to understand that when you're mixing it to whatever consistency, you also need to be conscious about what to expect from that. I know some people that really like a wetter consistency, and that's fine. But in this, in this scenario, that might not work so well, just because I'm not going to be using anything in between my highlights. Like I typically don't use any Bali wrap or anything else in between when you've got the root retouch, just because that adds another level of unpredictability that I try to avoid. You know, if I've got plastic wrap around while there's roots, I don't want to overheat the scalp. I don't want to run the risk that it's going to press a highlight into the roots, because then you've got some chemical reactions happening. We want to do this clean. We want to do it neat. We want full control over what to expect from this. So I am mixing up to my preferred consistency of wet toothpaste right before it goes in your mouth. I got to find something less gross.
That is pretty. I was editing that last video that you did, and I'm like listening to your analogies, and I was like, oh, it just went from like toothpaste, like, okay, toothpaste, and then in your mouth, like.
But like, tell me that that's not perfect. Like, you know that exact visual because you brushed your teeth hopefully every day your whole life.
It is true. It's true. I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than coming up with something super obscure and you now have to like go out and buy some fancy mayonnaise because I talked about it and you need to see what the consistency is.
Yeah.
So you don't need a ton of product because you're not doing a ton of highlights. It's got a nice, it's thick, like THICC thick, but not like too dry. Let's see. Let me show you my little consistency there. See?
Ugh.
Toothpaste. There, you got your visual. How are we doing? Do we have any kind of questions or anything before I jump into this?
So far, so just a question about how you feel about Pravana balayage lightener. I don't know if you've used that.
I feel like I have, because I feel like I've tried to try everything, and I have yet to find one I don't like. I know that there are certain ones that require some tweaking to get it how I'm used to working. Like I think Wella's has a different consistency, so I have to mix that a little different than I mix others. But I've yet to use one that I just don't like.
Agreed. Brenda has a way better description, I think.
Thick icing. All right.
It's pretty good.
I'm into that.
Yeah.
Like the can of like Duncan Hines.
Yeah.
Or like whipped. Yeah, like cream cheese. Let's get some red velvet cake.
Hey, also, guys, just so you guys know, I'm going to give away a TriRazor at the end of the show today. So all you guys have to do is like and share with whatever platform you're on, or tag us on Instagram, and then write in the chat that you liked and shared everything. And we're going to give one away to one of you guys. So
that's awesome. Speaking of Instagram, did you see my adorable endorsement, Matt?
No, I haven't been on Instagram yet.
I got my grandmother to film telling everyone to tune in today and watch.
Oh, that's hilarious. You got to watch that.
Cute. She wouldn't even watch it, but she's telling you to watch it.
Okay.
So good job listening.
All right.
All right. So the big importance of this is where you put them. I'm going for minimal amount of time, maximum amount of result. Maximum effort. No, minimum effort.
Maximum result.
That's it. Okay, so one of the first places that I always like to make sure that I get a good highlight in there is going to be the bone right behind the ear. Let me turn her so you can see exactly where I'm talking about. The mannequin doesn't really have much of a bone, but that's the bone you know I'm talking about right there. You can feel it on yourself right now. I'm betting all of you watching this are touching your head. Do it. So that spot right there is super important, because on anything from a bob to a long haircut, that's a spot that frames the face. That gives you that little pocket right here, so that when the hair is down, let me grab lasagna right here. When the hair is down, it's giving you that highlight that's sort of framing the neck, frames the face, depending on the haircut, but it fills that in a little bit so it's not too dark around the face. This one highlight does a lot of work because everyone sees all this, but I try to keep people, even if this is just a touch-up, I don't want it super, super light on top and super dark underneath. When I'm going for a more like lived-in, natural kind of look, that's the look you're going for, cool. Skip this highlight. But I like this, you know, sort of just natural, hand-painted, like grown in, mature kind of look. So that's where we're going to start because it's in the back of the head. It's typically going to be darker because it's in the back of the head. So with this, I'll go ahead and move this hair out of my way, which would be much easier with the root retouch. You know, hair gets pretty malleable, so you can just slide it right out of your way. So let me make that neater. Gorge. All right, so I'm just going to grab this whole little triangle behind the ear here. I'm going to do a good size section because, again, this highlight's working a lot. And then just grab some lightener. And then again, just let the hair take the lightener off the brush. You can go as close to your color as you can, the color on the root, and then just come right down through the hair. This is going to be a really important time to pay attention to your application consistency. Because you're only going to be letting this process for a little while, you're going to really need to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. So you're really going to want to make sure that your highlight is applied nice and generously thick so that it can create that perfect little environment for you to get the maximum amount of lift in the least amount of time.
So Brian, I think one thing that's going to for sure come up is when you have that touch up on, right? Where are you painting that highlight and how, like, can it blend? And if you, like, because you're going pretty close.
I'm going close because she doesn't have any actually thing on there.
Yeah.
But
if she had something on.
I did pick up a tip that's a very unofficial tip. If your person has a warmer color going on, most, not all, this is not an official tip again, most colors over the course of your application will dry out enough that if your highlight touches it, it's not going to be the end of the world. Because you're not incubating in a foil, so you're not going to get a ton of like crazy chemical reaction that's going to give you unpredictability. But if lightener just happens to touch where you've got that root retouch, if anything, it'll just break that up a little bit and give you even a little bit more transition. But I can pretty much guarantee you it's going to be on the warm side. So if somebody's going for an ashier look, maybe try to keep them from meeting each other. But I typically deal with more warmth than not, so it usually is okay.
So you'll go right to the root, or you'll go right to the touch-up.
I'll go right to the touch-up.
Or sometimes into it a little bit.
Yes.
Okay.
That's also why I'll start in the back, because that gives the front time to dry out enough that maybe I can even get it a little bit closer to the root. All right, so after you get my hard-working behind the ear highlight, the next one that I really like to hit is going to be in the crown at your parietal ridge from the front here, where it dips down to create that little crown for you in the back, that round. We're going to do 2 highlights right up at the top of that, because that's going to give us a nice drape. It's going to hit a spot that the sun would see. It's an important spot in balayage anyway, because it's what starts to separate the top of the head from the bottom of the head. So this is just going to frame that beautifully and give you a nice little pop. So let me just get it nice and sectioned for you.
So Patty was asking, would you do this different if you're retouching more than 50% gray hair with a lot of outgrowth?
I mean, the only time that, no, I would do this on everybody.
Yeah.
Like if when people were coming back from lockdown and maybe they had long roots, I'm not trying to cover over that much root. I would go up to it and let the gray coverage color do what it's got to do. But if you're just doing like your typical 1/2 inch of regrowth, then you can get this highlight close enough to make it worth it. If you're dealing with a much longer regrowth, I might just do the highlight on a separate visit.
Yeah.
Because again, predictability is what we need to be doing here.
And that's where, so I preach this all the time, but you gotta, like, people are so committed to doing everything in one visit. And there's a lot of places, other types of businesses that you go to that it would never happen in one visit. Like things you got to do multiple times. Like, so you got to think about, like, if somebody doesn't come back that often, if they're not coming back every 4 weeks, then maybe their highlight visit is not the same day as their touch-up visit, right. You know, or just, you got to schedule things out that way. So if somebody's got super long regrowth, then book them differently and maybe in 2 visits instead of the 1.
Right. We really need to focus on, if you want to be results driven, then you need to understand that doesn't have to be the results of one day. I mean, we're all results driven. That's our job, is to give people what they're looking for. But you need to be realistic about the fact that maybe that can't happen in one day. Rome wasn't built in a day.
And the quality of their hair is going to be better if you take your time with it and you don't try to push things.
Absolutely.
That's definitely something that I've learned the most over doing hair for so long, is that hair, if you take your time, obviously the hair is going to have better results. So you should book and spend a little extra time on it. And your client's going to be more committed to you as well, because they're going to know that you care more.
You got to be open and explain. Like, I'll tell people, like, it's so funny. I say it's because I'm an educator, but really it's so that they know. My clients know and understand why I do everything that I do. Like, I would go over this and explain a little bit of what I'm saying with you guys, of why I'm doing this, why you're only going to get so many highlights. Well, because you only have a half hour to process them, so I want to make sure that they're really good highlights. Before it comes up, in a scenario maybe where somebody does have really long regrowth and you want to do something, maybe foils would be a better option for you. Like, pop a couple foils in with a low developer, and then do your really long, it's like a color correction at that point, if you're doing really long root color.
So a couple of people are saying that they wish you would have applied the root color. So I think if we just throw a little bit of that conditioner just to showcase a close-up of what your highlight would look like up against that root color, I think it'll help people visually.
What happened to being visual, people? No, I get it.
Let me see. We ever do them separate, apply, rinse, color, go back, lightning process, vice versa. Yeah, would you do them separate sometimes? I think we kind of talked about that a little bit, but
in one day, yeah, if you have that kind of time.
If you have that kind of time, yeah.
I have no problem with doing it same day. I'm just saying it might need to be a separate process.
Yeah. So it's like basically booking 2 appointments for your client. Right. So if they want to do it in one day and they're willing to pay for 2 appointments, then that's how that would work. Otherwise, they might pay for their touch-up or some highlights and then do their touch-up in a couple weeks or something like that, just to break it up a little bit.
Right. So once you get to this part of the head anyway, this is where you're going to need to make your own call. Like, look at their haircut, look at how the hair is laying. Like, can you back up just a little bit?
Yep. Hope.
Mm-hmm. I just want you to, like, keep a visual in mind. Look at what we've done. Look at where these highlights are going to be. What gaps do we need to fill in to make this look refreshed? We need a little bit coming down the center here because we've got these 2 important curves of the skull, but now I need something just to keep this fresh as well. I think I can probably get that squared away with 1 V-shaped section, so that's what I'm going to do. Let me make sure you can see me.
Yeah, keep that open. There you go. That's good.
You good?
Yep.
Got all that color on the roots. Make sure that if you know you're going to be doing this, that this is the day that you're very clean with your root touch-up and not just slamming it on there and for speed's sake, and then it's 3 inches out, and then you're just making a big old mess. If you know that you're going to be going in and doing highlights, it needs to be that day that you're like Gwen Stefani with a Q-tip doing the root retouch just right at the roots. Right at the roots.
Wait, this is hilarious because I think Sandy just logged in. She's like, Matt? Question mark? She thinks,
Oh, I'm not Matt.
yeah. Surprise.
Matt got a facelift and turned into Brian.
A facelift.
And turned
That's
into,
what happened?
That's the only difference between us. It's just a facelift.
That's all I need.
All right, so you see I'm taking this right up to the line. Can you see that I'm taking it right up to the line? Is overhead?
Let me get, are you under it?
Yeah.
Mm.
Ish.
Here, move a little bit. That's a good shot.
Boom. Get in there. Get into it. I'll just keep applying. So I've gone right up to the line. I knocked at the door. Is that giving the visual that is making people happy?
Yeah, I think that's it makes the most sense. And you just got to blur that line because most of my clients get a touch up with highlights put over top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you have to you just have to blur that line a little bit.
I try to keep it to a point. Like instead of like a big fat, here starts a highlight.
Yeah.
When I'm doing a root retouch, I will shrink it so that they come to little bits of points so that it's less defined. Like the name of the game here is touching up. It's not going to be a big, super defined band of a highlight. So, that's where I've got it real thick in through the main part of the highlight, like icing. And then if you watch last week's video, the Balayage 101, it's got like where I did less saturation, so I'll get a little bit less lift right there, which is going to give you your transition from roots to highlights. Oh. Doing I do. So Matthew asked if I use a processing cap. No, that's where. But your question is right. Like when it dries, it stops lifting. So what I'll do here is just make sure you've got tons of saturation because you don't want it to dry out because you're leaving it out in the open. I don't like to put a cap or anything over when there's a root color because it just gets a little wonky. So just make sure you have lots and lots of saturation so that when the outside of this dries, the inside of it still has a highlight that's processing.
Cool.
All right. Do you want me to put the conditioner on the roots of the front, or are we good with that and just keep going?
Put it on there. I think so.
All right. Well, now you just get to. Now we have an
Here's
impromptu
why.
class of me doing a root retouch.
Here's why. Because if we don't put the root retouch on there, then
No one's gonna get that it's a
for the
class
next
of root
5
retouch.
years, 7 years, I get to hear comments on the internet about how
Why
you
is
didn't.
there a root retouch?
Yeah, and I'm going to wake up
Hating me.
hating you every day. So you have to.
So this is another informal tip from me to you. On the money spot, wherever that is on your guest, I like to, I might even do like a little bit less. Like I might not go all the way out with it because I know I'm going to try to get really close with that highlight. That's up to you. That's your call. But that's a spot that I always like to make sure is really light. So it might help by not darkening it before you intend to lighten it.
True.
Well, damn it. We're good. Don't call State Board. It's our secret.
Really?
It's not a real client. They wouldn't care.
I understand.
That's why it's funny.
If somebody's calling it not the money piece, the flirty piece.
Ooh, flirty. I like that. What else does anybody call it? Jennifer Aniston piece, Sarah Jessica Parker piece. I called it for years.
Where do you do hair, Brian? People want to know.
I do hair in a cute little river town called New Hope in Pennsylvania. It's like kind of a suburb of Philly. I don't know what constitutes suburb, like how far out you can go.
Yeah.
Because I live in Philadelphia, but I drive out here to this beautiful little getaway in the country. Salon Gratitude. Did I say the name?
Yeah, you can say the name. Now that they're coming to see you.
Yeah, bring it in. Let's go.
Dee's saying, I watched a few of your lives. This is a great way to learn. Well, there you go.
Oh, well, I'm glad you like it. We like doing it. It's fun. I like the interaction.
I wonder if I can.
I want to chat more. Ask more questions. What do you want to know? My mom's on here. What do you want to know from my mom?
Yeah.
Just a cute little... It's so funny. I'm like actually concerned with making it nice and neat. Just can't stop myself.
Here's a good question. Oh, the
Okay.
signature piece. That's a good.
Ooh.
Do you think saturation is the key with freehand highlights?
Yes. So if you go back and watch my Balayage 101 video, it's one of like the main components because you can get your sectioning right. You can put it in the most perfect spots. But if you don't have your saturation down, then it's not going to lift and you're not going to get the highlight that you're expecting. And then you're going to hate balayage and then you're going to hate me. And I don't like that. So yeah, saturation, the consistency of your product is huge because saturation is huge. The whole reason behind that, the reason I say that is because like we said a minute ago, your hand-painted lightener is going to dry out. So you want to make sure that there's enough saturation and enough product on there so that when the outside of it dries out, there's still plenty inside of that little shell of a dome that's still moist and processing. Almost done. This conditioner smells really good. Okay. Gorgeous.
It's actually Awapui Wild Ginger blow
Is that
out.
what it is?
Yeah.
It smells. Oh, the no blow.
Yeah, it's not.
I knew
it's
it
not
smelled
conditioner.
familiar. Okay. So, this was what I wanted to show a second ago before we did that. So when you look at the back and the side now, you can see that for a quick impromptu, let's just freshen this up, that's going to give us a noticeable coverage. Just going to have these highlights down running through the lengths. That's going to frame the face. And then this is going to handle this area in the back from looking too dark after a root retouch. So now I'm going to move into around the face. This is the only thing that's going to change about this is your guest's hair. Like on your guest, is this front panel going to be a much bigger panel? If they have a large head like me or a Funko Pop doll, then you might want to incorporate something because I'm only going to apply a couple of highlights on the hairline. But if you don't want to leave a space that's huge right here, you might need to come back and hit some more on the round of the head. But that's not an issue with this girl.
Kel has like a great comment.
What's that?
Just read it.
Sup, Cal?
I'm so glad you're here, Kel.
Mesmerized. I love that. Well, first of all, that food looks delicious on that profile picture.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not putting anything in between because we are making sure that there's enough elevation so that when I put this down, gravity's not going to take it and smash anything underneath it. Therefore, there's no real need to separate it. Also, when you have actual color at the root, it's going to give it a little bit more foundation so that when I hold it out, apply this highlight, and then let go, the base color at the root's going to just make the hair stick out a little bit more so that it won't create too much pressure on the hair underneath it.
So first things first, Michaela, thank you so much for jumping in and answering people's questions. I like when people help us out, letting people know, because a lot of people have repeat questions and they're just getting involved in the class. So they're, it's nice that people step up. Now she's asking if you used a 3D balayage comb or any of those highlighting combs before.
It's funny. I was checking my mail crazy over the last couple of days because I really wanted to have it by today, but I don't. It still has not come. I did order some just because I want to try them. I work so much with Lightener in the salon. If this is, it could be one of those simple tools that could mean so much and get you so much faster. So I am going to try one. I just have not yet received it.
Cool.
All right, so I've got this nice this whole section by the face. You want to be quick and effective. So I'm just going to do a nice little V.
Your root retouch is dripping. Just kidding.
It's because I use Clear Developer, so that's what happened.
Oh, nice.
Here we go. Just a nice, strong, make sure you got lots and lots of saturation in there. Because again, now we have even less time than we did when we applied the ones in the back, because this is we're within a 35-minute window here. Generally, I can get these highlights on in 10 minutes, so I'll just set my timer for 30 minutes, and that way that puts enough time for them to process, but not so much time that I'm worried about over processing the base color. So generally, I'll hit sideburns, temple, and then the money or signature or whatever you like. So in that section, I handled the sideburn section with a V. So now I'm going to come up to the temple section. I don't think I need another V. I think I'm just going to do one line here because, we're going off of the head here, going off of what we have to work with. And I think what will make this particular situation work really well is one good, strong highlight right there.
Yeah, and if you V that section, you're going to have two highlights kind of clumped together too.
Since we are doing bolder, stronger highlights, because we want just a few highlights to do a lot of work, think about how close they are and how that's going to look. If I V'd that, it would literally be right next to that heavy highlight. So then you're going to start having really, really strong blonde around the face, but you didn't go that hard everywhere else, so it might not be a really good color story overall.
Let's talk about, so Heather's asking, do you prefer to work with thicker or thinner hair? I have very thin hair and find it's hard to get that dimension and depth that I want. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I definitely, whatever hair you prefer to work with, I don't get that choice. I get what sits down in the chair.
Yeah, I like working with all.
I have some guests that I do this on that have really thick hair, but then I also have guests that have really fine hair. My one guest that I love doing her hair because she's so open to whatever I'm in the mood for. Her ponytail is like the size of my pinky on a good day. So the things that you have to worry about with that, the things that you take into account with that, maybe we'll do a whole class on it. But just as a quick answer, elevation is probably your biggest thing when you're dealing with really fine hair. Watch your section to make sure that it's big enough to hold a highlight, and make sure your elevation is maybe a little bit more than you would normally do. I don't balayage fine hair if I don't have stuff to put in between, because the weight of that will win out and it will start to smash on the hair underneath. So when you're dealing with fine hair, put something in between, whatever it is, whatever your preferred in between thing is. I like bally wrap. just because it's you lose a lot of the predictability when you're dealing with really fine hair and balayage if you're not careful.
Two things. It's so funny because you use Bolly Wrap more than anyone I've ever met in my life, and you still haven't used it yet. Like, you've talked about it for 3 classes, and you haven't used it. So I'm sure it's coming.
Well,
but
the other ones I would have used it on. This one is the one I don't use it on. Now that we got like our whole shipment of 95,000 rolls in, I'm teaching the class that I wouldn't use it on.
Yeah. And then the other thing with fine hair for me, I think less is more too with your highlighting, because you wouldn't put the same amount. Like when you talk about depth, Heather, I think depth comes from what's missing, right, from the highlight. So so when you highlight, if you do too many highlights, you're going to lose it in fine hair.
I like it rather than 1,000 small foils on fine hair. I would rather do few big highlights.
Yeah, good call.
So as I'm up on my last section of this side, so now you're up to the part, wherever that may be. This is where I'm real big on bringing that highlight to a point, because this is a retouch. So you've got other existing dimension in there probably. You're probably not needing to go right to the root with this, because we're just freshening up. It's a balayage look. You can't because there's color there. There's a million reasons. But I do make sure that I bring them to points. So however many highlights you choose to do along the part, bring them to points. And I like to bricklay and stagger them on either side of the part. So when you're on the first side of the part, keep that in mind. Think about where you're going to put highlights when you're on the other side of the part in a few minutes. So for one for the money, one for the show. There goes extra hair. So here we go. Normally my guest would not be quite so high up. I have this mannequin head a little high. So if it looks like I'm on my toes a little bit to get over the top, it's because I am. Because I like to pull this section back when I apply, because that does a really cool trick of making sure that they'll see it when they pull their hair back, and then it thins itself out greatly when the hair is worn down. So back, highlight, down, skinnier highlight.
That's good. Good view there.
Hey. All right, actually, to get this side, I got to come around.
Are we doing a similar thing on the other side?
Yeah, I'm just doing the same thing.
Okay. So this would be a good time if you guys have questions to post them in the chat, because Brian's going to kind of repeat on this side so we can answer some of your questions as we go through it.
And now I can see the screen too.
Yeah. So if you have a question, type Q, put in your question, and we will go through them. And remember that if you go to minervabeauty.com, you can win a ring light. We're doing that giveaway. If you guys don't know what a ring light is, yesterday in my live, Brian, I literally brought over a ring light, and then I showed what I look like with and without one. And ring lights are the best.
It really is.
It really changes, like, people, I call it like the cheat code for Instagram photos, because you wonder how people get such good photos, and then you're like, oh, that's it. As soon as you have one, you get it. Sandy's asking what OG stands for. You can say original.
Olive Garden.
Olive Garden. Yeah. It basically means the original.
It's the people that have been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And can help with any kind of, that can help us catch questions and answers and stuff, that, because there's a lot.
Yeah. There's a lot of responsibility in the OG status here.
Yeah.
Matt, when do you go live? I go live on Monday, Tuesdays, and Fridays.
I mean, he's live right now.
And I'm live right now. And Brian's live Wednesdays, and Danielle is live Thursdays. So
I got hump day. Someone asking about, yes, we're doing highlights off of a root color.
Which one?
Debbie
Rooney.
Rooney.
Let's see, Debbie. You have a bigger screen than I do over there.
Yeah, I can see things much larger. Someone asked about product. Again, use whatever you're comfortable with. I am using Skylights from Paul Mitchell. It is their clay-based balayage lightener. I like the clay base because I like that I can get the predictability that I like by applying a nice, strong highlight, making sure that my consistency is thick, my saturation is thick. That way, when it dries on the outside, it's still going to lighten on the inside for however long you leave this on. Today, it would be on for the half hour that it takes for the gray coverage roots to process.
So Tyler, how do you enter for the ring light again? So if you go right here, let me just show you. Pull up the
Meta.
Watch this. This put you in the corner, right? Yep, look at you down there.
Oh, everyone puts baby in the corner.
So if you go to minervabeauty.com, here's their website. You can purchase beautiful furniture. Look at all this stuff that they have now that like our salon's done. Look at how it's exactly like our.
Ah, brown chairs.
Look at but look at the like furniture and stuff. It's gold and white.
Yeah. Now that Christina spray painted everything gold.
Yeah. So it's beautiful. So right here on the front page, you hit enter now, and that'll take you to the page, and it gives you all the instructions. Basically, all you have to do is put in your email address, your Instagram handle, and then go follow Minerva Beauty on Instagram, which is actually pretty awesome. Will this take us to the page, hopefully? Yeah, like look at the inspiration photos for just, things that you can do to your salon. When we look at like the pandemic and all of that stuff, everybody's kind of got to up their game a little bit just from a clean standpoint. So just, get a new chair for $300 and a new mirror and
a ring
clean
light.
And a ring light, and you're good to go. So that's how you enter, Tyler. Let me see if I can get back to Brian here. So much easier to do when I'm not doing hair at the same time.
Right?
Yeah. Can't wait till one day I just produce shows. And what's your website name? freesaloneducation.com.
Heck yeah.
And so Tara, I am seeing your questions. I saw you had a lot of questions about the 3D comb. I don't know anything about it, and Brian's waiting for his order to come in. So as soon as all that comes in, we'll decide whether we're going to do a class on it or not.
Yeah, I mean, I'll play with it a little bit, and I don't know that there needs to be something focused around it.
Yeah.
I think it's more just a tool to help execute things faster. Like, I know how to do a weave. I know how to do a slice. I don't need a tool for it, but I'm looking forward to seeing if there is a tool that can help me execute it faster.
Yeah. And if it's like amazing and Brian's using it on every client in the salon, then we'll definitely showcase it in the class for sure. That's kind of how this works.
Don't worry, I am not trying to keep anything from you. I am an open book. I will tell you everything. I'll tell you too much.
Sweet.
All right. So, real quick with the overhead again, would you mind?
Got it.
So on the left side, remember I did just one pointed highlight. So over here, I did a V of points with that one falling in the middle, looking at where the hair comes from. I don't want it to line up. Just me personally, I'm not looking for a look of mirrored banding. If that's what you're going for, then do it. But that's not what I wanted. So I have it a little staggered so that the highlights will come down like this and have a little bit more of just a natural, casual lightened. And then I've got the nice, strong signature money frame Sarah Jessica Parker antenna bleach pieces. That's what I'm going to call it.
Good.
So here's your noodles. I'll give her a quick one around so you can just, again, get that visual that, let's see, how many highlights was that? 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Like around between 10 and 15 hand-painted pieces, depending on how you would count a strand versus a V. But we put them in just the right places so that when this is done, and it's processed and blown out. And now I put the noodles in the oven. And then there's lasagna. Do you get it? For the new people, that's noodles and lasagna, like a cooking show. So she's someone, this is very much what it looks like when somebody's in the salon. They've had highlights before. This isn't our first time, but I just needed to freshen it up. Would you just hit overhead one more time?
Yep.
So you can kind of see, I hope that's not too dark, but how I've got, they're pretty close to the root, all these highlights, but it's enough that it breaks up the typical root retouch so that it's, you don't have to wait for a day where you just do tons and tons of highlights. This will hold them over. It adds money to your ticket. I go in and just, you work out with, the management what a handful of highlights would cost. I do not charge as much as I would for like a partial highlight or anything, because this really is meant to be just a quick add-on service. It shouldn't add any extra time. This is only going to take whatever time their processing time is. So maybe take that into consideration if you're someone who double books. But this I can still just keep going right through. Handful of highlights. And there we go. What's going on? Oh my God, we're talking about Olive Garden?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Tour of Italy.
Fun fact, I got fired from Olive Garden because of my hair color. Said, well, let me just change that. Went home, shaved it wicked bald to make them feel even more uncomfortable. Because all I had was red and blonde highlights, but they were like, you can't have that. And I was like, fine, then let me just do this. And then they're like, okay, I guess that's not against any rules. And then
Fun fact, I'm pretty sure Brian's been fired from every job except this one.
The day is still young.
Every time Brian's live on the internet, I find out that he was fired from another job. And he's worked here for 8 years now. So.
I also didn't know that I was fired from so many places. I used to be like, no, I was never fired. But I don't consider fired if I came right back. I've been fired for hair color thrice, but never permanently.
Right.
It was like the one restaurant in Philly, actually. I was working at a diner and I had bleach blonde hair and I gave myself pink tips and they fired me and said, this is a family restaurant. And I was like, okay, I'll dye it dark. So I specifically went and bought blue black Faria. And when I put it on my head, I let it drip all down my face and then went back to work that night with these tiger stripe stains. And I was like, is this better? They were like, I guess. And they let me work.
And he's made it here 8 years, guys.
Yeah.
8 years. It's amazing. He's never done anything like that here.
Well,
you're allowed to be yourself. Maybe that's why.
Right. It's because you're not firing me because I have blonde highlights.
Right. Brian, you need to go home.
Yeah.
All right, so
let's see. Toning, that's one thing I didn't really hit on. Yes, you can tone, of course. If that's something that their color requires, absolutely. I've noticed, again, the kinds of people, the gray coverage, typically they're going a little darker. So if they're going a little darker, their highlights tend to be a little warmer, so I don't always have to tone. Like my client that's coming in tonight, her gray coverage is a level 9. So when I hand paint her highlights, they lift clean enough that I don't need to tone. Again, it's your call. I don't always do anything. I do when a situation calls for it.
Sweet.
Oh, Matthew, I hope you get the ring light. I hope everyone gets it. I'm not going to say. I'm not picking favorites. I'm my favorite. All right. Did I catch enough? Is there anybody else that was trying to throw one in?
Thank you. Viba? You think that's Viba?
Where?
Viba? On the chat. Look on the screen.
Ooh. Oh. She thinks you're funny, Matt. I know.
She said, guys.
I'm funny.
You're funny, Brian.
I am.
Karen says.
Thank you, Karen. All right. Well, the other thing that I want to know before next week, if anybody, other than just using the, is my color close to my natural? This is my natural. Oh, except for the highlights on the ends. Yeah, this dark, that's all me. I used to lie to myself and say I was a level 6 because I just didn't want to face the truth that I'm a hardcore 4. Yeah, if anybody has any ideas or anything, like shoot us some suggestions also, because I love coming up with stuff, but I also love giving you what you want. So if you have any ideas, I'm all about helping out and
Sweet.
tackling issues that you may have in your day-to-day life in the salon. So thank you so much. Is there anything else before we rock it out of here?
I think that's it.
See some more of this pretty lady. I'll do some, while the music plays, I'll do some full rotations for you.
Here's a couple things. The app.
Wrong way.
There you go.
Figure it out. There we go.
Download the FSE Now app. All these classes, Brian's classes, my classes, they're all on there.
As well as
tutorials.
us. We're on there too.
Yeah, and you can follow us on there. We have a community-based thing. You can share your work. You can upload your pictures. Soon enough, there'll be live functionality coming in a couple weeks. Everybody can go live on there and do classes whenever they want to. So super excited for some things that are coming up with that. So make sure you go download it and then set your notifications up so that you know when the new one comes out.
It's cool. It's not, don't worry, it doesn't spam you hard. It won't be annoying. It just let you know, be like, oh, just so you know, go check this out.
Yeah, the only thing that you get sent is education. So,
Yeah. So you're good.
So you'll be fine. And yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much it. No more questions. Brian, next week, what's our focus? What are we doing?
Right now, I'm thinking we're going to be going with like a foil balayage combo for a nice, bright, but also like lived-in natural look. Like that very just chill, I woke up like this, let's come out of COVID with like really cool looking hair. Hair that takes a lot of effort, but looks like it doesn't.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be good.
Yeah, check us out. There's my Instagram. It's really my everything, but Instagram's what I use the most.
Yeah.
So, hit us up. Thanks for watching.
The app is free, yes.
Yes, the app
Maria.
is free.
The app is free. And so I'm going to roll a video about some new furniture that's at Minerva, so you guys can watch that, and then we'll be right back to close this thing out with some music, and we'll film the final result. Brian
we'll dance.
He'll spiff that up with some spiff. Is that a thing?
I mean, she's pretty stiffed.
All right, here's the Minerva. Some new stuff available at Minerva. We'll be right back.
The Minerva Beauty Designer Series is our premier collection of salon and spa furnishings, custom built right here in the United States. This collection is as luxurious in design as it is in quality, and features modern, streamlined, and minimally styled salon furniture that can be personalized by the customer. With a wide variety of colors and finishes to choose from, customers are able to customize the body, drawer pulls, toe kick, countertop, and other features on Designer Series items. The Minerva Designer Series truly stands out above the rest with its long-lasting, top-of-the-line quality. This premier collection of salon and spa furnishings feature a durable core construction, contractor-grade laminate exterior, and melamine interior. Many of the stations from the series also include a protective stainless aluminum finish on the interior of the shallow top drawer, and have an optional appliance holder insert. With the Minerva Designer Series, we provide premium salon equipment designs for our customers to style and truly make their own.
All right. What do you guys think? Good times. All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching us. Hope you guys had a good time with Brian, and we will see you guys next week, or see you tomorrow. See you tomorrow. 12:30 Eastern Standard Time.
Rewind. passion.